welcome back to Alfred Tauri for race number 3. We're going back down under for the last of the races that are the same, unchanged as they were in 2023 going into 2024. The real world calendar shifts over to Japan after this, and that's what we're going to do as well. But for now, it's Australia, and it was the first race last year with a safety car. I'm pretty certain we've not had one yet this year, so hold on folks. Car news first and foremost. New suspension has been designed and manufactured. We've got 2 of them, but we've got 3 of the old specs, so we should be okay on that front. And it does bring us, in terms of what it focuses on, which is brake cooling, back into the upper echelons rank-wise. We are 5th in brake cooling overall. That's what we're targeting with suspensions. And the crucial thing that brake cooling is important for is, I think it does reduce lockups as well, potentially, but the crucial thing that it is important for is tyre temperatures, which means you can push harder without having to overheat the tyres, which is superbly helpful, particularly in those early stages of races when all the AI push as well. I don't know what's happened to my guarantees. They just don't exist anymore for some reason. But I'll see you for qualifying. A couple of incidents across the practice sessions. There was one where I immediately just went to Nick de Vries, and lo and behold, he was involved in it. But I had mistaken the blue dot that I was trying to get to for Nick de Vries. It was actually Sergio Perez I was trying to aim at. It was Perez who got the penalty for what was actually de Vries' fault, at least animation-wise. Shogun Yu also got a penalty for an incident that I didn't see, just saw the aftermath of. But, you know, low fuel run feels representative. So obviously a little bit lacking on car part knowledge, but that's the new suspension. From practice, I feared either the McLarens or the Alpines had made a step forward, but McLaren might be. Alpine's still behind us, on first runs alone at least. Just trying to see where the sweet spot would be. There's a big old gap here. But I think if I get them out now, the very least they'll get ahead of Bottas, De Vries, Perez once they do their pushing. Albon's the one in more peril, but Albon's also the one that did manage to clear Bottas. I don't think Yuki has. I'm not even sure Yuki's cleared De Vries, but hopefully De Vries has gone into the pits. He hasn't, but he has cleared De Vries, which is good news. We'll quickly just check in with Yuki, see how close to Bottas he is. More than I would like. That's probably too close not to be a hindrance eventually. It'd be a nice toe, though, of the what is effectively a back straight. As we return to Alex, who deals with a moving out the way Alpine. I don't know which one that was, but Alonso goes third with his lap. He was obviously safe anyway. I think it's Leclerc next. Oh no, that was Sainz. This is Leclerc, who doesn't improve. Stroll's crossed the line in 13th and not improved, which is curious. Gasly and Hulkenberg haven't improved though, behind, which makes me feel safer, of course. But across the line Albon goes. That's okay. Snowden definitely held up then. Is Danny Rick pushing? I think he is. I think he came out of the pits a lot later than we did. And then obviously he didn't push on his outlap. So obviously we're safe, but can Danny Rick get Bottas? No. Interesting marker point from Albon though. I feel so sorry for Bottas and Ricciardo in those tractors, but neither of them are particularly spring chickens. You could see a decline from them this year. 3 cars will act as roadblocks on their flying lap, first flying lap. Oh, 4 actually. I think both Aston Martins are on top of each other. Did not see that on the original. What have they done that for? How have they done that, more to the point? Got in the way of Yuki more than it did Alex. Or not. Wish I could remember what the Q1 times were. The good news is, though, apparently we've done the same to them. Yeah, we are coming in. We are doing 1 lap. I don't know why we've not moved out of the way. Or why they're slower. That was weird. I think something about the way Stroll and Alonso were there didn't help. I must have confused the game engine somehow. Well, I thought Yuki's time was good and then Perez came in. Alright, that should be a decent enough spot once we've pushed. Australia might have a problem with moving out the way, which works out for Yuki Tsunoda because he's ahead of the person that he would have to then immediately lap anyway. But it's Alex in danger, more in danger again, of course. But Yuki's down to 13th by the time we start the lap. Some people behind him are putting representative ones. We'll go Visor. I'm hoping the people in front of Alex are also on flying laps right now because there is a Williams, which has to be Zhou Guanyu. No, he is not on a flying lap. That seems to be quite evident, which is not what we wanted. I genuinely thought he'd get in that space where the Haas is. But the good news is he's caught the Williams here at least, so this should be straightforward. Get around him. Slower first sectors. I assumed the first sector is where Alex got held up, but apparently not. I mean, I'm hoping to be faster than Piastri at least. Norris has done a really good lap there actually to get ahead of Leclerc. Shogun Yu I think has done his lap as well, so he's guaranteed no better than wherever he is. 13th. So what is that from Alex? I am so confused by this pace or lack thereof from Alex just suddenly in this session. He was 4th in Q1, or 5th I think by the time it ended, but where's the time from Q1 gone for Alex? That is so confusing. meeting somebody on that back straight must be more detrimental than it looks. I suspect there might be a slight lift off that then affects you for the rest of the lap. Because obviously as soon as you lift off a little bit on this long straight, then you're never going to get back up to full speed. And it affects it for the whole straight. In all that confusion, I overlooked Carlos Sainz 13th. He lost 5/10 as well, similar to Alex, who lost 6/10 somehow between those two, which would have been good enough for 4th. Piastri with what might be genuinely his first ever top 10 start in this save, with his slowest lap time of the entire session somehow. But Fernando's second place qualifying will actually see him start on pole because of Sergio Perez's penalty. One stop exists, but I believe two stop is already regarded as being faster essentially. And more importantly, you can do that anyway, and all of them can be done as full push. And we do have two fresh softs, I think. I'm just going to assume they'll separate themselves out on track enough that we can send them on the same lap. Instance not unlikely, but we'll start only one lap under and then just push the fuel, I think, for a bit. That'll do us 11th and 14th because of Zhou Guanyu's penalty.
Get ready for the Australian Grand Prix. It's lights out and away we go.
I love that the pre-race focus in Australia, in a qualifying session in which Oscar Piastri has qualified 8th, the highest he's probably ever qualified, they focused on Lando Norris. But Albon goes backwards immediately and Yuki goes forwards immediately, gets homeboy in the process. Alex? What's that hindered? So I think Gasly squeezed him off. Yeah, I didn't quite catch it in real time, but he essentially just pushed him off the track. Well, we'll come back after that and double check what's happened here. Front wing minor damage, which sometimes isn't a problem. Yeah, it's not even like totally gone, the front wing end plate. So we'll see if it does affect his pace long term. He's 2.5 seconds off, but it's whether or not the amount of time it will take to change a front wing is going to be longer than the amount of time he's going to lose overall. He's closing on the back of the pack as things stand, so I think we might be okay to just change it in the pit stop. Yeah, he's going to be fine, I think. But we'll focus on Tsunoda, who did get Piastri, and I didn't watch the replay. But he's left Piastri behind because Piastri in the race is terrible. You can get a one-lap pace out of him, I think, but that's about it. Obviously, Albon lost a little bit of tyre wear because of that incident as well. Perez, Ocon, and Piastri all without tyres as well. I don't know how anyone has fresh softs, by the way. The AI must change the way they do their Q1 and Q2 softs. Because last year they used to use 2 fresh softs in Q1, then they used an afresh in Q2, and then they used an afresh in Q3. So they'd never have a fresh soft for the race if they go into Q3. Yet now there are top 10 drivers with fresh softs, so they must have changed the way they do that. Maybe they go on the same set in Q1 now. Which is nice to see, because that's what they do in real life, the fastest drivers. Just realised we've run out of ERS, haven't we? So that's my bad. Alex, come on, buddy. I believe in you. It's interesting that there's an incident. Oh, it's only brief. I was going to check the intervals there, but it's Ocon. It's Ocon locking up. He didn't connect with anyone. There was a brief panic there because he said Ocon +0 behind Yuki Tsunoda, and then, oh, he nearly does. I mean, it's almost a shame for our race, but he almost does collect the Mercedes, which should have been Russell. So it's a 4-car DRS situation for Albon, who can't get past Ricciardo for the life of him, apparently. Meanwhile, Tsunoda hangs on to Russell and Hamilton. I'm not confident he's going to stay in that train. But Albon with 2 detrimental instructions on his race right now still gets Ricciardo. Now he's out of DRS. So it's up to Albon to catch Hülkenberg and Bottas. Look, he's harvesting and he's on a void as well, trying to get those tyre temperatures down. Interesting they won't go down entirely. I'm going to see if Tsunoda can top up, actually, because he has got closer to the Mercedes. Maybe they were pushing each other because they were quite close together, and maybe Russell was... Oh, Hamilton's actually got Russell. As soon as I look away from Alex, he's nabbed Hülkenberg, and Bottas to claim next. Slowly getting back to where he was before. He was 15th at the time of the incident, because Gasly had already taken him. But unfortunately, Bottas is now 5 seconds behind of Reese and Zhou, which means he's got 5 seconds to get caught up. In fact, actually, that's a train from Norris down to Zhou as well. So that'll be difficult to get through. Shouldn't have too much issue with Bottas alone, as tyre temperature's now right within the window again. And Alex has done all that on harvest. Meanwhile, once again, as I'm not paying attention to him, George is on mediums. Interesting. That's interesting. Because he's on top up right now as well, which shouldn't really help him. I'm going to have to take Yuki's fuel off now as well, though. I'll swap it over. I wasn't expecting him to get... I thought I'd just use a little bit of ERS, just in case there's an instant that I don't feel like I've been mugged off by harvesting now. I want to feel like I've actually used the ERS for a purpose. There we go. We'll get 1 lap in. So he's just got to look... Yuki, I mean, you've got DRS, but Yuki's doing the Albon in this race. Why do we have one driver who's just sort of randomly really good and the other driver that's just kind of there? First two races is Alex in the front end and Yuki that was kind of just thereabouts. And today it's the other way around, which is good for Yuki, really. I mean, don't get me wrong. Yuki's not going to leave Hamilton. Stroll has a moment and ends up only about a second ahead of Yuki Tsunoda. I wonder if he can catch Stroll. If I let Yuki go all out for a little bit, can he get within a second of Stroll? Catch that DRS? I think it's two double DRSs though here, which is a shame. But if he can get within the checkpoint at the end of the lap, he cannot. And those tyres get very hot very quickly. Fortunately, in the corners that matter, Stroll just has the edge. And all that means is Hamilton's managed to get Yuki Tsunoda by way of the second DRS point. Stroll's on mediums as well, which is the depressing thing, but I think the Aston Martin is overall the best car. Fernando should really be doing better in it, but I'm supposed to just start on pole today. But I think the combination of Max Verstappen, maybe the Red Bulls might still have an edge overall, a little bit, but oh, he's going back again straight away. I didn't even, I'm on him, I could see he was ahead of him, and I didn't even clock that fact. Actually, this might have put him in range of Stroll. That kind of double DRS slingshot that they both had on each other. Yeah, they are. They're within 7/10. Great work, guys. We've sort of worked together there to get within Lance Stroll's DRS, which is quite funny. It's taken a while for Albon to get caught up. I mean, he's left Hulkenberg, Bottas, Ricciardo behind, and Ocon can't seem to get past. All right, so Yuki should, based on current tyre wear, come in one lap earlier. I think we can push... I'm just trying to think. Is it worth pushing Yuki one extra lap here? Wait, he's taken Stroll. The Ferrari's made his way through the McLaren's, Mercedes. I think it's Carlos Sainz's course, isn't it? Because he qualified 13th. I think he's made his way through as well now. There's a yellow flag. It's Piastri on the final corner. Some of these soft runners are actually doing really well. They might actually be trying to one-stop here, of course. But, I mean, did we just bring him in for the undercut? He's going to be about 40% tyres at the end of this lap anyway, so I'm bringing Alex next lap. Yeah, those tyres really overheat when you're not doing anything to mitigate them. Albon's called the back of Magnussen and De Vries as well. All right, that's the compounds done. 1.9 seconds. Gasly still has the penalty, of course, for causing the incident. Oh, God. Yuki Tsunoda comes out ahead of the fight that Alex is in. Oh, superb work, Yuki. And team, for that matter, for getting him out there at that moment in time to begin with. That's what you want. Now, Yuki can drive off. He's got 8 seconds to catch Zhou Guanyu on road, who hasn't pitted because he started on mediums. But yeah, Albon's now being held up by this, so probably worthwhile coming in anyway. Oh, it didn't tell him to change the front wing, and I realised, but it didn't look like he was being held up by the front wing. 1.8 seconds stop. I don't think we're even trained to go that fast. Similarly, he comes out about 7 seconds behind Ricciardo. So, and notably, out ahead of Piastri as well. It's got him through the pit stops. Albon's immediately with Daniel Ricciardo. Yuki Tsunoda takes a little bit longer to get up to the back of Gasly as it is now, because he's still not pitted either, off old softs. But Albon should dispatch Gasly relatively quickly, I'd imagine. I'm looking at Albon, and I didn't even register the fact he'd overtaken Ricciardo. I didn't even see him do it. And then I just missed the replay because I was so shocked that he'd overtaken him without me realising. All right, so we'll get those tyres down a bit. Should really switch over to Yuki Tsunoda because he does have Gasly in his sights. Well, he had Gasly in his sights, and then Gasly went for a wander. I'm just sort of looking at the pocket that Yuki Tsunoda's in right now. He's doing 122.4. See what his lap is this time round. Norris and Zhou about 123 dead on, so he's about half a second faster than both of them. I'm just trying to work out when I should go for the fuel recovery. It's lap 25 of 58, and we're about 1.9, so we've essentially just recovered what we burned originally, so we're not going to get it all back in time unless there's an incident. As Tsunoda's on the back of Leclerc, who must have pitted, but also Zhou Guanyu and Norris. He's just closed that gap entirely, and Albon got through Hulkenberg as well. Bottas pitted, De Vries pitted, so they decided to not be even in the considerations there. Hamilton's now pitting, but Leclerc cleared Zhou, so it's up to Yuki to clear Zhou as well. Everyone's got DRS, but our DRS is better than most people's, so I'm presuming it's better than Zhou Guanyu's, because Yuki's just gone, bye! It's good work from Yuki, really. I'm pleased with Zhou Guanyu. He seems to have a competent car in that Williams. But in the same breath, Leclerc's dealt with Norris. He was literally in front of us in that highlight. We do have to stop again, though, don't forget. So realistically, anyone that's got yet to pit, we're technically running with right now. So there goes Norris. That's an important overtake in the long term, because he's one stopping. Fortunately, Yuki Tsunoda has now long been left by Leclerc, but as long as he stays outside of a second of Norris, hopefully, we'll be all right long term. The recovery rate for fuel doesn't seem terrible. It's just, obviously, we've banked on there being an incident. We won't get it all back naturally. We will have to go on a conserve, but we can sort of do a thing where we just kind of wait and see, as this is a thing that's happening. Yuki's got the DRS, but I don't think he'll make it stick, I say. He's given it a go, bless him. What's he on? 96 accuracy again. I did decide that the strategy he's on right now is the best development strategy to be on because it gives him both control and smoothness, which are probably the two most useful attributes this year. Well, braking and smoothness are still the best two. Braking just for lap time wise, smoothness just for maximizing your tyre life, which obviously is very important this year. But control as a general metric is something very nice to have, and Yuki's is quite low in comparison to the field. So control to bring it up to a reasonable level, and then we'll probably focus on, if there is one with braking and smoothness, one with braking and smoothness. Well, that's good for Yuki. He's held on to Sainz for 2 DRS sections, which has dragged him 5 seconds away from Norris. 5 seconds. Wonder how many DRS sections he can actually get dragged through here, because he's got dragged through this one as Albon caught and overtook Magnussen without me even seeing it. He was 4 seconds behind Magnussen last time I looked. Well, good for him. His confidence has got to be, yeah, pretty solid. +8 accuracy, +8 braking. He might be the fastest person on track with that peak across the board. Jesus, look at those attributes. But Yuki's having a go at Sainz now, which is not what I was expecting. Zhou Guanyu's finally pitted. Okay. Well, this is happening. This might be the sensible point to just have a little check on the old fuel front with Yuki Tsunoda, because I took him off push a little bit later, so he's got a little bit more to regain as Verstappen finally pits as well. There we go. That's got Sainz through before the checkpoint. Is that Leclerc just ahead, or is he just pitted? No, Leclerc pitted a while ago. Why did Leclerc just suddenly end up right in front of us? Albon's past Norris, but Albon needs to pit again. Of course, we put onto fresh softs, so while we're behind Sainz and while we've got the DRS active, might just use these straights to recover the fuel on. Just keep going backwards and forwards and doing that. Every time the DRS activates, just start recovering fuel. I think I've got 0.3 back on 1 lap just by doing that. I generally might be able to do this for essentially 2 laps here and get it to a point where Yuki will be fine just to leave him for the rest of the race regardless. Ocon now pits. Because you do recover a little bit over the course of a race. Because we went from -2.5 to -1.8 within sort of, I think, probably about 18 laps. So we're 20 laps to go. Might be able to leave Yuki now. I mean, strictly speaking, he's due a pit stop right now. But as long as Yuki's being sort of dragged along by Carlos Sainz, I'm tempted to leave him. Albon's going to come in this lap. Yuki's going to come in next lap, which actually turns out to be the same lap, I think, just because of the way they are on track right now. But Albon's still showing his stop time, even though he's halfway around the track now, just because I was on 16 times there. But I should really look at Yuki Tsunoda, really. He's stuck about in the top 10, I think. But we might be able to just slam these on a 5 push for the entire session now. Okay, so Yuki comes out well ahead of Norris, but 6 seconds behind Hamilton, and about 12 total behind Russell in 6th. But bear in mind, Yuki started 11th. And Albon started 14th, and they've both pitted now, again. So, in theory, technically, the only way is up from here, because Albon's catching Zhou on better softs, and Tsunoda's catching these 3 on fresh softs as well. So, realistically, in 13 laps, 14 laps, I think that's who they're going for. And Tsunoda will certainly get 0.5 of a kilogram of fuel back. Whether Albon will is a different question. But I think that's the first full lap since coming in for Alex. He does a 120.4, which is faster than the leader. And crucially, 1.5 seconds faster than Zhou Guanyu. Alright, so Yuki has hunted Hamilton to within a second. Albon's still 4 seconds behind Zhou Guanyu. 10 laps to go. He will get there. I'm going to have to consider fuel with Albon soon, though. So Yuki gets within DRS range just after the DRS detection point. Good work, Yuki. Alright then, Yuki Tsunoda, DRS on Hamilton. Doesn't get him there. He's got 2 chances here. And then it's 9 seconds to Russell and company ahead, who actually fell into Sainz, or I should say Sainz fell into them. So Yuki Tsunoda ahead of Hamilton on DRS 1, and now we should have DRS again to pull away a little bit more firmly. Crucial overtake late in the game. Good move. We'll take that, thank you. That's P8 for Yuki. He's dragging Hamilton along for the time being, which is a tad annoying. But I think Hamilton's given up now. But Alexander Albon, lap 53, close to being in Zhou Guanyu's DRS at last. I don't think he's actually going to get Norris now. I was hoping he might be able to sneak 10th in the end, but he does not. I think now he's just called Zhou Guanyu. I'll get him to conserve that extra little bit that he needs to conserve. Because I think Zhou Guanyu is going to be certain by the end of this lap at least. Well, Yuki Tsunoda 5 seconds behind that fight. He's gonna get there, maybe, if there's enough laps. Zhou Guanyu locks up anyway. That makes life easy for Albon, I guess, who's now within a 0.1, so no problems there then. Well, it's 2 laps to go for the leader. Yuki's about to start that 2 laps to go. So we'll watch these in real time as I think Yuki's about to lap Hulkenberg, that must be, because I think it's a Haas. He's got to find 3 seconds in 2 laps. I don't think he's going to, sadly. as Verstappen starts the final lap, but Verstappen has lapped all the way up to Ocon, I think it is, in 13th. So Zhou Guanyu and Albon will be the only two that remain unlapped outside of the points. Yeah, a little bit too much to ask for Albon in the end, but I'm intrigued to know what the lap time is from Russell. 120.7. He's on 32% softs. Just want to throw that one out there. So you just need that to go positive, plus 0 kilograms as well. Yuki Tsunoda's going to end within about 1.5 seconds. Sadly, I didn't really have any ERS to push at that final bit, so I can only really do it here at the very, very end. But Alex had a bit more, but it was kind of irrelevant. He ended up with a second. He's probably going to run out of fuel on the out lap, though. In lap, I should say. Alex, apologies if you can hear noises outside. Someone's decided just to start doing something very loud out there, but Alex crosses the line. 5.3 behind Norris. It's not bad. If he hadn't had the problem incident early on, then it might have been a slightly different race for him. But still, side points are in that same fight. Seems like Fernando and the Aston can hold on for third at least, but the Red Bulls, particularly with Max, but Perez still got through as well. So the Red Bulls must still have a car advantage over the Astons, but the Astons clearly now definitely second best in this world as well. It's a pity it's taken them a year in this game to be as good as they were in real life at this point, our season. Also, why is Yuki about 6 inches too tall? On the one hand, it was kind of nice that the game in 2023 season didn't really reflect the overall strengths of the vehicles in the real 2023 season. Sadly, the Astons weren't as good as they should be. The Ferraris were too good at the start of the 2023 season. Weirdly, the in-game 2024 season is going as the real world 2023 season has, because we've had 3 races and it's been Max and Perez on the first and second steps every single time. Fernando's had a couple of problems in the first couple of races, but it seems to have sorted it out for race 3. Lando's first point as well. A weirdly bad race for Esteban Ocon, who dropped 6 places to 13th, and Piastri, having started 8th, finished 16th because he is terrible in the game. Drivers. Obviously, the top 2 are the people who have been first and second all 3 times. No surprises there. Charles Leclerc, Lance Stroll, Carlos Sainz and Fernando Alonso finally getting some good points. George stays 7th, Hamilton down to 8th, somehow 3 places, while George stays still in 7th. Love that. Albon down 1, Yuki up 1. With his first major-ish points haul of the season. He got 9th in race 1, 8th here, triples his tally. Some countback shifts around as well. Aston Martin take Mercedes in the constructors, nobody else moves. But McLaren with their first point, of course, leaves Williams, Haas and Alfa Romeo pointless. Yeah, I think we're running away with this one. 111 points after 3 races, and some lovely, lovely points. I don't know where we lost out sponsors of. Oh, Q3, we didn't get into Q3. Well, in a weird way, I was going to have to replace the front wing anyway, I think, because it would have failed its inspection this weekend, I think, regardless. So that's cost us nothing, really. Meanwhile, Hadjar, Fittipaldi, Maloney, Edgar, Mansell and Browning. I wonder how many F3 drivers there are that are new gens now, but we do get the chassis design done before Japan, but obviously they won't be built before Japan. We can't go crazy with emergency parts like we did last year, so that's be that. Oh, I should have mentioned, by the way, Yuki Tsunoda tipped over to 83 rating in the gap between race weeks. His control is now 76. So that's what he looks like overall as things stand. That accuracy obviously really good, but wet track is bringing control and smoothness up. But having got his best results of the season so far and having gone up to 83 rating, we now go to his home race in April. Yeah, a little weird having Japan this early, but I understand the reasons for it happening in real life, and we have mimicked those here in the game as well for this season. We're saying 2025 onwards, I might take a few liberties of my own. I think realistically, what they've done in real life is a pretty representative, sensible kind of strategy in terms of minimizing journey distances between races to sort of reduce that carbon footprint that the F1 is trying to do. So, but if you've enjoyed the Australian Grand Prix, it's felt like a relatively straightforward race, but some kind of very sensible races from our drivers. Nothing really too crazy, but nothing too bad either. Obviously, Albon a little bit caught out by Gasly, and that was that. 2 very good drives from that point onwards to get to where they finished. So I appreciate that from our drivers. It's nice to have a stress-free race, really, for once. But if you did enjoy that, like, comment, subscribe. You know the deal by now. Until next time, thank you for watching. Ta-ra.